Greetings and salutations, everyone. Thank you for being here for this episode of Incendiary. We've got a great show for you tonight. We've got a great guest coming on and a topic to discuss. First of all, though, I want to introduce the co-hosts that are here so far. Definitely the other will be joining us. So we've got Bionic Bra from Tail End Studios. Hi, Jake. How are you?
What's going on, man? Welcome back for round two.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. In this corner. One of the things our guest asked is how long does this show? And we said, we go about an hour. And, just to confirm that.
I've never known Brian to go longer than an hour unless, just absolutely necessary. Now I know I got to watch what I say on the show.
No, that makes it entertaining, bro. So what I'm going to do now is, let's see if don't have anybody in the comments just yet. But what we're going to do is, let me go to Brand, and our guest actually signs his own intro. So let's go ahead and get to that. Watch this. Welcome to the show, Graham Nolan. How are you, sir?
That's when I had hair.
Hey, I can totally identify with that.
Yeah, I shaved it all off during COVID, and I've kept it off.
Oh, did you? Okay. Well, yeah. I had the whole wreath thing going on from my early 20s. I haven't been carded for forever, so I just decided to just remove the whole thing. And actually, people tell me it makes me look younger. I don't know if they're just humoring me now or what, but
Graham, that Wikipedia picture of you with the little square in the front, that was me for years too, man. I had that square in the front.
The Wikipedia page, I'm trying to remember. I haven't been to it. I don't know what it was.
If I remember correctly, I think you're sitting in your car, but it's just a photo of you. And anyway, you had hair and the little square diving board in the front. Yeah, that's been me for years too, man.
The diving board. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So hail and well met.
Oh, there's Bandito. Is Blue back too?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, that was Blue talking.
Everyone's here. The whole gang is here. We all showed up.
Awesome. So with that in mind.
Welcome, everyone, to the official debate section.
Yeah. So, Graham, I'm told that you were informed of how this works, but just in case anybody that comes onto the show doesn't know, what we do here is we take a stance on one side of the topic, which is sex appeal in comics. What crosses the line? Okay. So whichever side you want to fall on, you'll be able to choose one of us to align with you on that side, and you will debate your thoughts and opinions on the matter against two of us. So whoever you want to choose will be with you, and then two others will go against you. You can choose who you want to go against, or we'll just do that ourselves. And then the last man standing will be the mediator.
Okay. I'll go up against everybody.
Oh, shit.
He says, bring it.
Yeah, my butt just puckered a little bit.
Oh, I'm clipping that.
Damn it.
My goodness, there always has to be one.
Dude, I just got home from working out. I'm trying to rehydrate here.
Because I don't know what anybody's stand is, but I'm willing to stand.
It doesn't matter what our stance is. If you choose,
we're here to argue either side.
We are ready to defend you to the end.
Right.
Unless we're assigned to argue against you to the end. So.
Which we will drag you down.
And I think he just assigned all of us to argue against him with no mediator. So there we are.
That's right. I said, have at it.
All right. The topic is, as titled in the show, is sex appeal in comics. What crosses the line?
Okay. Excellent. So what do I do?
So what does that mean?
You just pick whatever stance you want to take and run with it, and I guess we'll go against it since you want to go against all four.
Okay. My stance is that there are no limits.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, what do you mean? Well, let's make it more clear. That way I can actually pick a lane to go into with this, because
Okay.
just saying anything goes, that's just too
Well,
wide open for me.
I can expand upon that if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Please do.
What I say, there are no limits, because what we're talking about is an art form. Now, if we're talking about a corporate comic, then there are limits. But as an art form, an artist ought to be able to express himself in any kind of story that he wants to tell, whether I like it or not. I don't believe that anybody should be gatekept or
Sure.
kept from doing whatever it is in whatever way they want to express themselves in their artwork. So that's the hardline stance. But when we're talking about comics, are we talking about corporate comics like superhero comics? Or are we talking about the comics individual creators create for themselves?
Well,
we can talk about all of them as different categories.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But I think as a whole, I still think that there is a fine line between tasteful versus exploitation.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they did the Return of Supergirl back in the 2000s, like
Mm-hmm.
everything she wore was scantal. It was just unnecessary almost with some of the angles that they were giving her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying, I'm just taking this stance because this is
Okay,
how
so
this
we're going to
debate's gonna
start
work,
with
but-
corporate comics. We're going to start with
Okay.
superhero comics.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Then I agree with you that this is
We won,
children's literature.
sucker.
Yeah, want to know, bitch.
I get a beer.
Superhero comics are basically children's literature, and they try to make them, for these sort of stunted people that don't want to move on to other things.
Okay.
So, I mean, I actually went and self-published in 1998 because I was so sick of what the corporate comics were doing with these superhero characters that I couldn't give a comic book to my daughters who were young at the time. Like DC, I was under contract with DC. They sent me everything they published. And when I was a kid, if they sent me everything they published, I could read everything. But at that point in the mid 1990s, early 1990s, I had to go through the books and I had to toss out Superman, Batman, even the stuff I worked on, Wonder Woman. And the only stuff I could give my kids was Scooby-Doo. They had the Warner Brothers licenses, so they were doing, the Bugs Bunny and that kind of stuff. And then Batman Adventures. I couldn't give them the kind of comics that I read as a child because they were overly sexualized and overly violent. As you had said, the artists were picking porn shot angles, looking up the skirt and, the gigantic boobs and Power Girl with the boob window and all that kind of stuff.
But still, that is corporate, so they were allowing that.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't give that to your daughter, you say.
That's correct.
And
Yeah.
that's why you went indie and did Monster Island yourself.
It's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they had lost their way. They had lost any kind of sense of taste for who these comics audience was.
So a little bit contrary to your original point where you said anything
Right.
goes, what you're saying is anything goes to a point, or at least under certain circumstances. Like my stance is all is fair so long as you provide fair warning to parents and store owners that there is adult content. In my opinion, you can put anything in the comic because, like you said, this is an art form, but in certain circumstances, you need to warn them.
Well, the circumstances in this case is the fact that it's a superhero comic published by Marvel or DC Comics. If they want to have a separate line, a black label line, or I forget what the other one that DC used to have where they did the adult stuff.
Vertigo.
Vertigo, thank you. They clearly knew who that audience was, but a kid reading Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, you name it, whatever. There are limits there, that have to be adhered to because of who that audience is. Now, if I go ahead and I create a character on my own and I call her Boob Window, well, then that's what you're going to get.
That's going to sell like hotcakes.
Yeah, in fact, I'm writing that idea down right now.
A whole lot of cake right there.
Could be the next Compass Comics comic.
Boob window and beefcake. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dynamic duo.
So that's the difference.
Okay. Well,
So you're saying there's no limit there, but there is a category for audience, and when it becomes corporate comics, the given audience is presumed to be children, and well, starting with children, unless they say otherwise. Did I hear you?
yeah,
right?
because even we just admitted that corporate can move the line. So what really is there that's kind of off limits, I guess. At this point, that's just like my parents never like read the comics that I read, nor did my parents read comics when they were little. You know, that just wasn't them. It was all the cowboys. It was John Wayne and all that shit that they liked watching on TV.
Whoa. What do you mean shit?
I'm just saying that as an umbrella term. I don't mean it was actual shit.
You're talking about the Duke that way.
We just went into a whole new topic here.
I know what company I'm in, and I am not going there.
There's a new dictionary definition. It's just colloquial for stuff, random things. Got it. All right.
There we go.
Okay, so let's throw this one out. It's not the job of the comic book industry to give sex ed to my kids, even though they could probably end up just staring at the underwear models in the JCPenney catalog, no admissions there, as small children. It's not your job to give them sex ed, so you shouldn't have anything too sexy in comics, period, ever.
Ooh.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing.
I'm supposed to argue against him, Bandito. That's why I'm being weird.
No, I like it.
There's a difference between sexy and sexuality and sexualization.
Yes.
And that is the big key. The great Bob Oxner used to draw the sexiest and cutest women in comics. He did a lot of those Bob Hope comics. He did Supergirl. He did Mary Marvel. He did these wonderful Superman covers with he did Lois Lane as well. And he drew the Angel and the Ape. Just these really adorable and cute girl next door type things. Sexy as heck, never sexual. In the 90s, it was the same thing with John Romita. He drew Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy, very sexy, and young boys, read that stuff and loved it, fell in love with those characters. But then, we had artists that were using, pinups from Penthouse for their shots and then putting the clothes on. You had the twat shots, you had the boob shots, clearly sexualizing the characters. So yeah, I think that's a huge difference.
Well, I mean, the X-Men costumes, I mean, they basically ripped those from the 1960s Avengers show when the ladies wore basically just lingerie as their costumes. So I mean, they're pulling from what's already being shown to the public. It's just, where can we let the slip slide a little bit more, I guess, is.
And one of the mythologies, and I think it was proven to be true, is that the artist on Power Girl felt that he was being largely ignored by his editors and started drawing her breasts larger and larger with each issue. I heard that story. Waiting to see when somebody would say something. And they were just enormous when somebody finally said, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Was that Wally Wood? Was he the original Power Girl artist? Was it Wally Wood?
I don't think it was Wood who did that, but yes, I believe he was the original.
Okay.
So, I don't think I guess I agree with Graham.
Uh-oh.
But I gotta give you a point somewhere.
We have no response. That was perfect.
Is that James Carville?
Yes, it is.
We all agree with Graham. We're just supposed to have fun. Go ahead.
So I don't think it is. So there isn't any limits.
No limits in the art form.
No limits in the art form. But I don't think it is about trying to find your audience, and I don't think it's about having, you should of course warn that the book is an adult book. The more adult it gets, I think though it just has to serve the story, so it doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter where it goes, but there's so much stuff out there that's simply it's supposed to be acting like it's appealing. It's supposed to be acting like it's to draw the reader in because this is someone who's sexy, or there is there's sex in the magazine, or there's something, but none of it should be out there the way that it is, in the sense of it doesn't add to the story. It's literally just there to be smut. It's literally just there for
titillation
without purpose beyond that.
And it's
And-
gratuitous in many cases as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I'm okay with gratuitous. Like, I'm okay with it being, because like the example I have is heavy metal, and of course we know how sexy the covers get, and inside the pages, I mean, they go full on sex. And when you look at stories like Druna and some of the other main, or not even the main ones, but like some of the over the top stuff that they do, it is as graphic as anything that you can find in the world, that's real life or otherwise. So, but a lot of it is probably inappropriate by the definition that I gave, but a lot of it is geared, especially the best stuff ends up being geared towards what the story required at that time.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you ever read Click or Butterscotch?
No.
The Milo Manera books.
Oh, yeah.
Milo, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Butterscotch. Oh my goodness. Yes.
I mean,
know
it's
that is sexy as fuck. Holy shit.
sexy as hell. It's full on porn. But it's wrapped in a story, an interesting
Yes.
story, and an interesting concept. You couldn't tell that story without that stuff. So, perfect example of, yes, it's adult. It's somewhat whimsical as well, and fun and very sexy. It's way over the top, as I said. There's just, it's certainly porn by any standard, but that's who that audience is. It's an adult audience. It's not for kids. It's gorgeously drawn. It's nicely written. It's a fine piece. It's not for everybody.
So in addition, though, to the Milo Manera work and heavy metal, which seem to, as both of you said, fit the story, or at least, move the story along, certainly there have been instances where it's been gratuitous simply for the sake of, being eye candy and for no other reason.
Game of Thrones.
Well, I'm glad you jumped to something that's live action, because my example is in gratuitous is Erika Eleniak appearing in Under Siege, the Steven Seagal flick where they're on a warship, and she's flown to the ship to pop out of a cake. Okay.
Oh, this was just on this past week.
Super scantily clad and completely irrelevant to the story. Totally wouldn't happen. They would not do that. And, at one scene at the end, or sorry, spoiler alert, toward the end, she jumps into some scene with a gun and kills somebody, saving one of the heroes of the show. But I mean, she was totally unnecessary in that movie. And that kind of thing does happen in comics as well.
Well, to play the other side of that coin, a gratuitous nudity scene that completely works is in the movie Airplane, where the plane is going down, everybody's in chaos, everybody's screaming, and this topless girl just jumps in front of the screens and wiggles her boobs in front of the camera and then jumps off. It's funny as hell, and it's such a non sequitur. Gratuitous, yes, but that's the whole point. They're pointing out the gratuity of it, and in that case, it works amazingly well as a storytelling device.
And that's exactly it. That's my point, is that it has to, if it does not serve the story, then you end up having something that takes away from the art that you're creating.
Now, that scene in Under Siege would be ridiculous. But because this was a comedy, it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I agree. Yep.
Another agree.
So basically,
We are so bad
basically
at
what's
this.
boiled down to is that
I'm Irish. I like to argue.
I'm Polish. I don't.
Yeah.
God.
Actually, I don't know if that's a Polish trait. I just don't know all these sexy books you guys are talking about.
Hey, so since I'm French, should I run and hide somewhere?
There you go.
Yes. Because you're French is why we all have to use avatars.
What did the French maitre d' say to the German commandant? Table for
What?
50,000, sir. Sorry, had to.
So one thing I see that trips people up a lot is it's one thing to have a beautiful woman. We'll just focus on women, a beautiful woman, and it's another to have her in blatant poses. But then if she has her hip moved a little bit, that's not the same, and very different from porn, where you cross from blatant poses to something implying activity. And it's like that's where things get a little bit dicey. So why do people misread? This is just a discussion question. Sorry, I don't think I'm debating properly. But people want to take everything and label it porn. Like, why is beauty a problem?
You are, I think, perhaps referring a bit to another Milo Manera part or piece, and that is the cover to Spider-Woman, the variant cover, where they say that her ass cheeks were spread wide and that was sexually suggestive. And perhaps it was, but on the other hand, she was in a very she was in a pose that Spider-Man could just as easily be in too, because they crawl along the walls and rooftops and things like that. So,
it's not down doggy, it's down spider.
Right.
I was just thinking something horrible to say, but you say her ass cheeks were spread wide and that's sexually suggestive. Only if you're into butt stuff. I mean,
well,
whoa,
clap, clap.
Now we got another new show.
Anyway.
Writing it down.
I'm sorry, but no,
you're not.
At some point, yeah, if I were sorry, I wouldn't have said it. Anyway, at what point do we say that? Because I guess if I have to argue against Graham, then I have to say, well, no, if you're showing any beauty in any way that could be sexual to anyone, then it's porn. Which I think is personally, I think that's a dumb stance, but
yeah, I think that's going a little bit too over the edge.
It involves action, not just nudity. There has to be an action.
Well, what if it's just thought bubbles, like provoking the idea, like to get you to like take your imagination there? Like they don't show you, but they're getting you there to think about it. Like when not to beat a dead horse, but it's been on Supergirl high for some reason, but for a while there they had Green Lantern, Hal Jordan trying to hook up. Well, not hook up, but they were teasing that Supergirl had this infatuation with Hal, and he had to keep on reminding himself that she's 17. And so not only that part, but there was also another female Green Lantern back in I think it was the Silver Age, that was 14 years old. And then when they played that out, she was kind of like having feelings for Hal, but now a new writer came on and he immediately flipped it to where she went through this like quick, like rampant aging take place to where she was now like 18 and able to like get with Hal and everything. So, like at what point do I just lost my train of thought? At what point do sorry.
Stop looking at beautiful women.
I can't help it.
He's doing research on the job.
Right.
So, part of that thought process there, in my opinion, that's lazy writing. So instead of continuing to show Hal taking the right path, maybe thinking these thoughts and then remembering and chastising himself or chiding himself about, hey, remember she's underage. Instead, they aged her up. So, all right, party time. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what it felt like.
That's
did
lazy.
they age her up as a story arc? She took something and all of a sudden her physical body aged up to 18?
I wouldn't
did
even
they
call it
just
a story
retcon
arc. It
them?
happened like next issue after a new writer came on.
Oh, well, so they didn't explain it. They just said, okay, now she's 18.
Right.
Okay, but it's still, Hal is probably closer to 30. He's a test pilot and all that kind of stuff, and he's been Green Lantern for a long time, so he's got to be 28 or 30. It's still really inappropriate for him to be.
Not to mention, I mean, he's from Earth and she's some alien chick. What are they going to have in common?
Oh, well, maybe 18 to that alien chick is like 45.
Exactly. Like she could be way too old for him in alien years. We don't know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. But interesting comments from Jay there. Nudity doesn't always equal porn. By that logic, the Renaissance was full-blown porno.
There are people who think that, yes.
Yeah.
Well, there are people,
and
real purians, that are sickened by nudity, which is ridiculous. Yeah. We're born that way, and we die that way in some way.
I'm only sickened by
we
my
are meant
nudity.
to run naked in the fields, Nolan. Yeah, well, and
I eschew all clothing.
Well, someone like Nolan can get away with it a lot better than I could.
I don't want you to explain that. Let's just move on.
Well, the Renaissance time too, like some of those paintings. I'm trying to the name totally escapes me now, but there was an artist who went into the brothels, which were the brothels were the original ballet schools, because they would have the women dance for the men who would come in, and so there's like a whole collection of these paintings of ballerinas that everyone thinks are very artistic and very what do they call it, like they think it's indicative of the time being very classical, when the paintings are of the prostitutes of that time. Like these are sexually explicit paintings, because that's exactly what they were selling at that time, even though there's no nudity or anything in them. It's an interesting.
But there are paintings from that era and before of like the orgy scenes in Rome. There's a lot of those classical paintings that touch on sequences or scenes that are very sexual. There's even some of the religious paintings, that have the women like being drawn into hell type of thing, and they're naked, and these like demon things are all around them, and they look like they got boners, and
those religious paintings, the Hellborn religious paintings, everybody's naked in those. There isn't anybody clothed, even the demons.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's to be provocative. I mean, you're in hell. You're going to be at your most vulnerable. So being naked, I mean, that just draws back to, fig leaves. So,
well, we're sexual beings,
oh, no doubt. I'm not going to argue that.
It's a driving force, second only maybe to, needing food. So it plays right into our basis of emotions.
Well, it's definitely on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And food and shelter, is the baseline, but self-actualization is after sex.
Yeah. You gotta propagate. You gotta carry that gene pool.
And a lot of people say, if you believe in a divine creator, then it's easy to say, well, he invented sex. The whole thing isn't naughty in and of itself. No. It's some of the ways we look at it that's naughty. He invented it, so it's pure in its basic form.
Well, sure,
it's purely naughty.
So then where
Dojo,
do
we are meant to run naked in the fields, Coon Comics.
That's right. Or somebody is. And you know what? One of those Renaissance painters, I've got to say that I appreciate, and maybe not everyone does, would be Reuben. When they say a woman is Rubenesque.
You like those big butts.
That's right. And I cannot lie.
Others may deny.
Well, and it's interesting too because we're talking about nudity in comics and stuff, but you look at Frank Frazetta.
Mhm.
So, of course, he created, what's the other guy's name? It starts with a B. I can't think of it.
Boris
Yes, thank you.
Vallejo.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Amazing artists
Mhm.
who have tons of nudity in their comic or in their artwork,
Mhm.
and yet it seems to totally fit the story that they're telling in that art as well.
Right.
Like it it seems like his cave women and his what's that, the painting that Frazetta was always painting, the character that he was always
The
recreating.
Death Dealer?
No. The cat.
Oh,
Like
the Panther Girl or
Panther Girl? Is that what it was? Cat Girl? Panther Girl? It was something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
he painted it like 1,000 different times because he was just trying to get that one specifically right?
Mhm.
And
Was it
I
Sheena?
see what I don't think
No.
it didn't actually have a name. It was just
This is
like
the one where she's standing and then the panther is there's like that big mossy
Not the
tree
Huntress,
behind
is it?
the Huntress. Well, usually she had 2 cats one cat on either side of her.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Oh, maybe it
that's
was Sheena. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I see Jay putting the comment
I
in
think
the
it's the
chat.
Panther Girl.
Panther Girl.
Sheena was a character in the comics, and
Yeah.
we're talking about a painting that he did.
A painting that
Okay.
Frazetta
Yeah.
did over and over and over again. There's something like, I don't know, 50 of them out there that he did. And there's
You're
like
gonna
2 or
practice
3.
on something.
Yeah, there was 2 or 3 famous ones.
Mhm.
And then there's like a whole bunch of others. But he was trying to create this like goddess image of this woman. And he was trying to capture that in everything that he did, or not in everything, in that painting. And you could tell by the look on her face, by the structure of her body, the position of her posture. There was something in her that he was trying to present that totally said, yeah, she should be naked. She should be there posed like that. And it's interesting to see how far we've moved away from that, and that
Mhm.
our art actually can't seem to recapture that.
Graham, I got a question for you going back a bit to
Yeah.
what you were saying before then. So what, and I'm thinking of a Supreme Court justice and what he said, but I don't want to quote him just yet. When you had to say, I can't show this to my daughters, and it was mainstream comics, which, should be more appropriate for all ages, then what were the things that you could not show to your daughters? What is it that crosses that line of when sex appeal is present and shouldn't be?
Are you asking me at that time what were those books that I couldn't show her?
Yeah, because she was little at the time, of course.
Yeah, they were all small. It was any of the mainstream comics that were they were too violent, or they were too sexual.
I'm sorry. Given a specific image, what might be too sexual is what I'm asking.
Oh, well, it wouldn't be Wonder Woman's costume,
Okay.
because obviously it's skin tight. It accentuates her female form the same way that Superman's costume accentuates the male form. They're idealized versions of men and women. It's how those figures are portrayed and drawn where it crosses the line, as I said, between being sexy and being sexualized.
So there's something in their pose that implies showing off sexuality rather than just being a body, or showing off some implication of activity.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So imagine there's a scene where Wonder Woman is talking to Steve Trevor. I don't even know if Steve Trevor was a character around that time, but let's say she's talking to Steve Trevor, and the artist decides to shoot an angle from like looking up her skirt, or because he wants to get that titillation stuff. Has nothing to do with the way the camera should be positioned to tell that. And the artist is being not only disingenuous and lazy in his storytelling, he's doing it on purpose.
Mhm.
Whereas a great artist like Bob Oxner could have that same scene of them talking and have this cute pose on her and have her looking sexy, but not looking like she came out of a porn magazine.
Okay. Not looking gratuitous.
Yeah.
And so really it's camera angle, body position, and implied activity.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of the scene of what's happening as well.
Okay.
You know, I mean, even like a scene where the character might be laying unconscious, you know, instead of in a heap or something, they're laying like they were laying on a chaise lounge, you know, with their breasts completely sticking up, like their back is arched and stuff, and this person's unconscious, you know.
Mhm.
An
Spread
unconscious
eagle.
come hither.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. These are the kind of things that were existing in the drawings, certainly in the 90s.
So there weren't any female leads that you could allow your daughters to like look up to or learn about back in the 90s, like Black Canary and Zatanna versus Starfire and I don't know, Emma Frost or something. Or
No,
it
that
just,
stuff was
it just all looked horrid.
That, you know, that stuff was, yeah, looked terrible.
Okay. Well,
Now,
damn.
if I had some of those great Alex Toth Black Canary books, I'd have certainly have let them read them. Again, Alex Toth could draw sexy girls that a girl could look up to, but it wasn't gratuitous in any way.
Graham, are your children all girls?
Yeah, I have 3 daughters.
Okay, I want to throw this out as sort of a devil's advocate. If one of them was a son, would that have changed your attitude as to what he could read?
Oh, good question.
That's a great question. Yeah, I'd have given the Monera stuff.
I 100% agree with that. I mean,
You mean not the JCPenney catalog with the live models in it? No.
Yeah. I got a funny story. When I was a kid, my mother was a teacher, and across the street from us there was this guy who was moving, and he had all his Playboys tossed into the garbage can, and all the boys in the neighborhood found out and were all over there scavenging the Playboys, right? And my mom comes out and she's like, well, what are you reading, boys? You know, and we're like, nothing, Mom. You know, we're looking at the Playboys. We got the things up, you know, sideways for the centerfolds. And she says, well, why don't we all go back to the house here, and I'll let you look at the National Geographics. Even at that age, we knew that, you know, these African women with these boobs down to their knees were not what we wanted to see. We wanted to see those airbrushed babies.
Right.
100%.
You know, even at that tender age, a boy knows what a boy knows.
Well, and for myself, I was actually when I was 9, I was reading like Archie and Bugs Bunny comic books and that kind of stuff, Richie Rich. Mm-hmm. And I ended up having a babysitter that looked at what I was reading, and she was just like, why are you reading that junk? And so she ended up giving me the stack of comics that had like all these horror, like House of Horrors or House of Mystery and
nice.
Witching Hour and tons of heavy metal back issues. Like I go all the way back to like 1978 with my collection. Just because
those were eye-opening.
Oh yeah. And I don't know, like, I don't know if she meant to give me all of those, but it's certainly expanded my horizons.
I didn't actually answer your question fairly, to be honest. You asked if I'd have still given the books if I had a son at that age.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm being honest, I would have given it to him at an earlier age than I would have let them read it. I'll just say that. If he was the same age as them at that time, I probably wouldn't have. But if he was slightly older and they were slightly older, I may have given it to him versus giving it to the girls.
Okay, well, that's honesty. That's what I wanted. So,
yeah.
and you know,
you can't handle the truth.
What? You didn't bring him on here to lie to you? Oh my God.
The truth is, most of the stuff was overly violent. That was the major thing. There was a lot more blood. Wolverine was, sticking his claws into people and out the back and all that kind of stuff. And there was the sexuality aspect as well. But
it was more shock value in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was more gore and stuff like that. We were at the same time, like shows like NCIS or whatever had first started appearing back then, and the kids were watching children's shows, and they would show a commercial for one of those type of shows in the middle of a kid's show.
Yeah.
And my one daughter used to get so scared because she'd see dead bodies on the ground and pools of blood and people taking pictures and, FBI investigators there and all that kind of stuff. And it really bothered her.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to keep them from seeing, too much of that kind of shit.
Right.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Were you in the awkward position of drawing books that you could not share with your family at the time?
I couldn't share with my daughters. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was drawing Batman, and the stuff was violent, but I always tried to take a more artistic approach to violence. Like if there was a slashing scene, let's say a guy with a knife, I think I had to do a beheading one time, and I took the Hitchcock approach where I had the knife or the sword in the foreground, zipping by with maybe a trail of blood on it. No viscera, but just some blood. And then the shadow of the guy is cast on the wall where you can see the shadow of his body. And then you can see the head, 3 feet above it to sort of artistically indicate that the head was cut off without being so direct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a cover for, one of the Replicator covers was a more viscera involved shot from behind the person being cut in half in the torso.
Oh,
And
right. Yep.
Yeah. Very different approach. I did not get that cover. Just
Now, to be fair,
it's well drawn.
That's again because I'm talking about a kid's superhero comic. In my book, The Chenoo, we also have a beheading, and you can see the neck pipes flying out and the cuts in the skin and stuff and the blood going all over, because that was written as like a rated R movie, gore movie.
Thanks for reminding me of that. I will try to sleep tonight. Yes, thank you. My mom bought me a whole box of horror magazines at a garage sale for me when she got. Hey, I was reading that. Got them home. She actually looked through a couple, and then they were out the door.
A travesty. Oh my goodness.
No.
Oh man.
There are ways.
Those old horror comics were amazing for pacing, because the horror comics usually had like 3 or 4 stories in them, and so they had like 8 pages in order to do one really good story. And you would have to go through they had to go through the introduction, the meat of the story, and then the twist at the end, all within those 8 pages. Fantastic reading on those. Side note, nothing to do with the sexuality or sex appeal in comics, but
we digress to horror.
Yeah.
Somehow that either the debate will fall apart or we'll digress to horror and violence in every show. It just, we try a debate and it just drifts away. Hey,
Blue has a theory that this is going to be the charm of our show.
Yeah, and I took the word charm from Bancroft because he calls everything that. What's your name? Dojo. I am sharing an image from.
Oh yes. Okay.
Yeah. So implied sexuality can be done several ways.
Oh, that's the girl I was talking about.
Yeah, actually, that was also posted on. Did you see it on Twitter, Blue?
I did see that.
I'm sharing it from Twitter.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. One of our viewers posted it there just now under your show.
Appreciate it.
If it seems like I skip a beat, it's because I'm trying to multitask.
So thank you, Death Saw Comics. Really appreciate it.
See, I don't see anything wrong with that picture there. There's no implied sexuality.
No.
Now this one does.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah. This is sort of like a joyous, hey,
no. Well, anytime they dealt with Hal Jordan, it always seemed like it came from the females and not him. Like totally opposite of what, you're told, in reality, it's usually the dude like whistling at the woman. But no, it's her having the thoughts about him and trying to persuade him.
Yeah.
And then there was this one.
But yeah, so that's her after, I don't know, whatever issue or whatnot takes place.
And this is still Arisa, right?
Yeah. And, they did the same thing with Kara L and Kal El. They did it back in the early stages when they were trying to figure out if she was actually going to be his cousin or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on in the 90s again, when I think it was before she became Darkseid's minion for a little story arc. But yeah, it's weird, the personal fetishes that story writers or artists try to like portray on. There's no consistency is what I'm saying for this to take place.
So there is a consistency.
That's not a new thing at all. Yeah.
The consistency is you can always count on them to put their perversions in.
Ooh, this is true.
Ooh, I'm feeling a little called out. If you guys saw Siamese, there was there was a scene where one of the gals, their twin sisters, one of the gals was getting dressed, and the implication is that some activity went on between them. So yeah, I'm feeling a little called out here.
Well,
I
we weren't going to point.
I think that shot came from like the Patrick Swayze Ghost film, did it not?
Oh my.
Well, as long as we're calling you out on things, Brian, I think you accidentally complimented somebody this week, and it turns out I don't think you knew who you were talking to.
What?
They had really good hair, great job on the hair, and and we'll just say you complimented them, and that was really nice of you.
Okay.
Thanks for being a nice guy, Dojo.
Thanks for being a really nice guy.
All right, cool. If that's what I get called out on, I'm okay.
If it's the worst thing that happens today, you're doing okay. Yeah.
I don't know how long that person's been a she, but at least the hair was really good, and you were right about it.
Oh, shit.
You know what? If they're gorgeous, they're gorgeous. I'm going to stand by it, whoever it was.
Hey, I'm young enough that I don't remember the 80s very clearly, but I know my older sisters all had feathered hair, and that person feathered hair was like awesomely done. I mean, if my sisters had that former guy's hair, they'd love it. So.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So we're kind of coming up to the last 10 minutes here. I don't know if you want to jump in and bring up Graham's campaign that he's got going.
Yeah, let's do that. I have. Let me see here. Do present. I am ready to do that. I just have to right here, and then I got to go back to StreamYard in order to say yes. And there we are.
There it is. This shadow band beauty.
Yes.
Shadow band is the new black. So.
You're shadow band too?
It needs to be in everybody's collection. If for no other reason, just to piss them off.
No kidding.
Yeah.
He is indeed shadow band. When I went to go look for this. Backers. Yes, over 1,000, over 65, almost $66,000. So good on you there. Kudos to the success thus far. Obviously, there's 6 days left. We can do better.
Yeah, definitely. We just got to get eyes on it, in the links to people, because if you go to search for it, you're not going to find it. So you need the direct links. So if the moderators could put the link to it in the chat here and maybe pin it, put it in the description to the show. So
it is definitely already in the description.
I only have the URLs for the secret perks. I don't have the regular URL.
Well, you can just get it right there.
There we go.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the third book in my direct Nolan verse, and this is going to connect not only the Shinu and Alien Alamo together, but it's also going to connect Joe Frankenstein and the Monster Island series.
Oh, nice.
So
I've been bringing those into it too.
I've been dropping little tidbits and breadcrumbs throughout the stories about those other series, and this will clearly it's its own story, but then we're going to clearly tie it all together, and will set us up for the next book, which is going to be Escape from Monster Island.
Oh, all right.
Oh,
Do you want me
nice.
to go ahead and drop this trailer for you?
Sure.
All right, let's do that.
Sexy, not sexualized.
It's almost like you're on topic.
Why does that guy look like you?
Who, this guy?
Yeah.
People say that, but he's actually based on Randy Couture.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see that.
So now, how do you pronounce that? Matecumbe?
Matecumbe.
Matecumbe.
Mm-hmm.
Matecumbe.
It's
This is your...
it's in the Florida Keys.
Mhm.
Oh, it's an actual key?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's you know where Isla Morada is?
Yes.
Isla Morada is on Matecumbe Key.
Oh, okay. Did not know that.
Yeah.
This is the second book you've done where everything's tied to you fictionalizing from a real weather event.
Yes, actually, yeah. The Chinook was tied into a 1977 blizzard, and this one is tied into the 1935 hurricane that hit Matecumbe Key.
Is that also going to be a theme in your future books as you tie your universe together?
Not really. This was just coincidental.
Okay.
It's more of a backstory. Actually, I take that back. In the Chinook, it was a backstory. It was to just tie it into something that really happened. This one, it actually plays a bigger role because it involves the ghosts.
Okay. Yeah. And I see the Randy Couture in there. I think most of us just initially see a clean-headed guy with a little bit of beard, and he's got some shoulders to him. So we're like, oh, that must be Graham. You know,
Self insert.
Across all comic books, they are all Graham.
Yes.
That's my universe.
Yeah, it's the Nolan verse isn't about a whole bunch of characters being in your universe. It's about Nolan being in everyone else's verse.
That's right.
We went over this on a stream with what's his name? Oh, geez, Hybrids guy, Luke Stone. That he's going to start breaking through universes, and Graham Nolan will be making a cameo in them. Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome. Bring it all back.
We are pretty close to wrapping up here.
Yes.
I will give a couple. I took some notes as we were going, but I'll give a couple thoughts here, and then we need to know where we can find Graham and everybody else on the panel. So, when it comes to nudity, I think it's difficult to argue that there isn't some form of the forbidden in any actualization of it. But that taboo is what draws people to it, both in wanting to see it, be a part of it, and also to negotiate where that line is for them. They want to be as close to the line as their moral center allows them to be. And there's something tantalizing about that. We have associated nudity with the original sin, with worship of deities, with the very birthing of cultures, and in much more individual, personal ways that makes people continuously need to shower. How much of this is pornography and how much is art, if there is even a separation in that, seems to definitively and decisively, as always, I think, comes down to the fan. Who is willing to buy it? Who closes their wallets because of it? Who is wanting to appreciate it? Who is always hungry for more of it? And in that, we probably find the only empirical indicator of what is allowable. The market sitting at a multi-billion-dollar industry certainly has found many of you out there are horny as fuck. The nudity is not only allowable, but something to be obtained, no matter how difficult the endeavor to find it might be. Now,
sorry.
Whether it is an audience finds the artist, or the artist develops a culture around them, or if our natural state is to simply run naked through the fields, my personal belief, wherever the line is for nudity, people will swing their feet over it and tread that forbidden ground if they find a cute enough ass to follow there.
And cute is in the eye of the beholder.
Well, that goes
poster.
There's that quote from the Supreme Court justice I wanted to bring up earlier, or I was avoiding earlier in asking Graham questions, was, I don't know what pornography, or sorry, I can't define pornography for you, but I know it when I see it, or something really similar to that.
Yeah. I remember that.
So Graham, we're going to start with you. First of all, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate your input and participation.
Yeah,
it's been
fun.
great talking to you.
Yeah,
And what we would like to do now is ask you, in addition to the campaign that we just showed, where can we find you on the socials?
I'm on most of them. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on YouTube. I have my own show that I do on Wednesday nights called The Storytellers. Did it tonight, as a matter of fact. And then I'm also part of the Professionals and the Comics Gate Kings on Tuesday and Monday. So you can, my YouTube channel is Graham Nolan, easy enough to find. And I'm GNolan12 on Twitter. And I think I'm the same on Instagram as well.
So if I could ask you to, if you could send me in our DMs the details about Storytellers, when it comes on, etc. I'd like to add that to the CG guide.
Sure. So each week when I'm going to be doing it, send you the DM with a link?
Yes, please. Yep.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Okay. Bandito, where can we find you in the socials?
I am Smiling Bandito, or Michael Sherwood, wherever social media reaches. I'm mostly on Twitter, so definitely check me out there and give a follow. And yeah, otherwise I'm here hanging out with you.
Awesome. We appreciate it. Jake, how about you?
You can find my 2 tags right there, Bionic Bruh and Tail End Studio, on both Instagram and Twitter. You can find me on Facebook as Jake Adams. And you can also find me here among you fine people every Wednesday.
Fine people. All right. Well, if you say so. How about you, Blue? Wow, what's
I don't know
going
what
on?
you're doing, Blue, but we can't hear a single word you're saying.
He's sounding like he's gone chipmunk on us.
Mm-hmm.
He's skinning a cat. That was the skinning of a cat.
For my own sake, I have this YouTube channel, Dojo Kun Comics.
I think my computer flipped microphones on me.
Oh, he's back.
You're better.
Yeah, sorry about that.
What are you using that other microphone for?
I moved something in my USB stuff, and it switches over to the camera mic that I'm not using. And that's the one where half the time I sound like a chipmunk. But anyway,
that was some fetish shit going on.
Yeah,
Working as intended, apparently.
Yeah, because everything with computers always functions properly all the time.
Yes.
So yeah, Blue Samurai Zero is a Twitter account as well. And then I'm in the middle of migrating all my YouTube videos from over a year ago to was it Rumble, and I do hope to be putting up new stuff soon. I have a huge stack of books I'd love to review, and yeah, so I'm kind of on YouTube, but I'm in the middle of moving to Rumble right now.
Okay. All right. I'm on YouTube here on this channel, Dojo Kun Comics. I'm at Dojo Kun Comics for Twitter and Facebook. And in addition to that, I've got short form vids that post every night at midnight. I think I'm going to be taking a hiatus in December, though. We'll see, because I've got another show that I'll be starting soon with various co-hosts. It'll be a pre-recorded show, though, not live. That's sort of in the works. So again, thanks all of you for being here. Those of you watching on the replay, we appreciate you as well. And let's have a look now at what we have to look forward to next week.